So this video is going to be about computing multi-factor productivity. So much like we computed single-factor productivity, here we're computing the same idea but for multiple factors. In the case of multiple factor productivity, the thing first is sort of identifying that this is a multi-factor productivity problem versus the other ones that were single factor. And the way we can tell that is because in the write-up of the problem he is talking about various units of labor, energy, materials, etc. And he wants to see if it's worthwhile to switch to the new supplier. So in reading the problem, Larry's Logs has decided to do a more complete analysis of changing suppliers. As such, he will need to compute the multi-factor productivity for each supplier. He expects to produce 240 units with the old supplier, just like in the previous problems, of course, and 260 using the new supplier. So he pays $10 an hour for labor. He'll use 300 labor hours with the current supplier, and of course 308 hours with the other supplier, which we know from above. The other costs will be constant across both suppliers in that the logs cost $10 a log. They're going to need 100 logs. Capital costs are $350 and energy is $150. So we know that those are not going to change. So in the case of this particular problem, it's not nearly as complicated, again, to make it simpler to teach you. Other problems get a little bit more complicated. So let's just take a look at this. So what you can see is I've put in the output here 240 by the current supplier, 260 by the new supplier is the cost. Then we go down to labor. Now, what's important to understand about multi-factor productivity is you have to get it all into the same unit. And in the case of this problem, the unit is dollars. You can't compare kilowatts to labor hours. So you have to have it all in a common unit. And in this case, we have it in the common unit of dollars. So first thing we do is calculate the labor cost. So we know that we know how many hours of labor we need, which is going to be 300 times. We're going to multiply that times 10 to switch it over to dollars, because of course we need dollars, not hours. And over here on the new supplier, we're going to have 300 times 3 labor hours plus the additional 8, and then we're going to multiply that times 10. So we're going to have $3,000 for labor with the current supplier and $3,080 with the new supplier. So what we want to do is see if it's worth it for us. It's essentially we're going to pay $80 more, but we're going to get 20 more units. And so we want to see, is it really worth it to switch from this supplier to that supplier? So we calculate the materials. We know we need 100 logs, each cost $10. That's $1,000 for both of these. I tell you up here that it's $300 in capital. Put that down, and then energy is $150. We're going to sum down. We're going to add a 3,000, 1,000, 350, 150. We're going to get 4,500. That's where that comes from. And then over here, we did the same exact thing. 3,080 plus 1,000, etc. gets us this 4,500. So now what we need to do is compare this total right here with this output, and this total here with this output. Maybe I should make those a different color. So we'll make those green and the other one's yellow, so you can kind of see. So down here, we calculate 240 divided by 4,500, and we're going to get 0.053. That's our yellow productivity, if you will, or for the current supplier, 5.3%. And then over here, we're going to take 260 divided by 4,580, and we're going to get 0.0567, and like I said at the beginning of this, we need to round this to 3 decimal places. And again, this is an important thing, because if you don't, you're going to get a number that's different than mine or the key, or worse yet, you don't want to test. So rounding it to 3 decimal places will give us 0.057, because the 7 rounds this 6 to a 7, and so that's how we get 5, 7. So I'm going to make this one green, and you can see. And so now we can see that our productivity calculation, our multi-factor productivity for the current supplier is 0.053. And for the new supplier, it's 0.057. So we can see it's better, but what we want to know is how much better. Like, it's hard to quantify this. So we want to then compute the percent change in multi-factor productivity. We do that by taking the new minus the old divided by the old, exactly like we did before. The only difference is that we are using the multi-factor productivity now instead of the previous single factor productivity. So we take 0.057 minus 0.053, we divide it by 0.053, and we should get 0.075. Take a minute here to put that in your calculator. 0.057 minus 0.053 divided by 0.053 gives us 0.07547, and the 7 rounds the 4 to a 5, and the 5 then gets this 5 then rounds this to a 6. So that's how, and we have an increase in multi-factor productivity by about 7.6%, and that comes from, put that over here so you can see it, that is because of rounding, right? So if you didn't round it, you would have 0.75, right? Because we're going to round it to 3. If you didn't remember to round that up, you could probably figure that this is the closest answer. So that hopefully gives you an idea of how to compute multi-factor productivity. If nothing else, there's just one more look at the answers. Another thing I did on this was compute the percent change in productivity for labor using costs, labor costs, as opposed to above we had used labor hours. So we do it all the same way, and we compute the percent change like this. So we have a 5% increase in labor productivity. But notice that here we have an overall increase in 7.6%. So I did this here because there are two homework problems, 1.6 and 1.7, that are very similar to this, and they have you compute this percent change in productivity for each of the products in addition to doing the multi-factor productivity. Of course, I didn't do these because there is no change. They're all the same. So there was no reason to do them both. So I hope you find this helpful, and I am always looking for feedback on these videos, so if you've got any thoughts on videos, let me know.